Joining us now, Eric Trump. And Eric, it is great to have you with us, man.
Yeah, it's great to be on as always, John.
Okay, we got a lot going on. I want to start with politics in Virginia. Latest public opinion polls have come out. We're behind in the state. I think one poll that came out says we're tied in North Carolina. I'm very confident we're going to win the Tar Heel state, but we are behind in Virginia. We're outgunned, outmanned. Clinton campaign has 175 people. We have 8. So we got to turn this around. Is the help on the way?
Well, no question about it. And we're ramping up big time in Virginia, and we're opening up tons of offices. And Virginia is a state that's very important to us. We have a lot of property in Virginia, in Charlottesville, and in Loudoun County in Northern Virginia, and it's a state that we're going to win. It's a state that I care about tremendously, and we're just going to win it. And no, we are. Teams are all moving in now, and guns are blazing, and we're building a great team in the state, and we're going to have a lot of offices all over the place, and I think in Virginia.
All right, look, I'm fired up. I know that if we get the resources and we get a little attention, we can turn this around and not only make the state very competitive, but I think we're going to win, because here's what we have that the other side does not have. They have the paid operatives. We have the enthusiasm, Eric. I mean, wherever we go, we have so many Trump volunteers that want to get involved. We have so many people that are excited about this campaign. They're fired up. They know this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And if we can find a way to get the resources to get them mobilized, I think it's going to be a whole different story. And we're going to roll up big numbers in Southside Virginia, Southwest, and I think in Southeast Virginia and Hampton Roads. And obviously we have to do that in order to over sizable Clinton lead in Northern Virginia without a doubt. But if we get the resources, I'm telling you, we can turn the corner and win the state.
Yeah, well, John, and I'm glad you used the enthusiasm word, because that's 100% right. I mean, the reason she doesn't do any rallies, the reason Hillary doesn't do people just don't show up to the rallies, and it's why she does small little fundraising dinners every single night, where you have 100 people or 200 people come, and they'll bring $36,000 a person a plate to attend these. And these are all the special interests, and there were all the insiders, and there were all the lobbyists and large donors, and these are all the people that control Hillary. And if you look at the exact opposite, my father will show up in Virginia, and he'll have 10, 15, 20,000 people come to a rally, and so the enthusiasm is off the charts for him and his campaign. We raised $80 million last month, but the interesting thing was the vast majority of that money was $10, $20, $50. I mean, the enthusiasm is there. People are coming out like we've never seen before, and people are really excited. And we've got to take back our country. We have the greatest country in the world, and it's just going in the wrong direction. You see the corruption that's endemic, in quite frankly, her tenure in government. She's been in government for 30 years, and she doesn't have a single good accomplishment to point to. Her policies have totally destabilized the Middle East. We've spent trillions of dollars. We've lost thousands of lives over in the Middle East, and ISIS is more powerful than, quite frankly, ever before. We have an education system in this country that's ranked 30th in the world. We have an African-American community. We have African-American youth in inner cities, about 60% unemployment. Mm-hmm. We have real problems in this country. Our jobs are fleeing. They're going 2 feet over the southern border. They're going to China and Japan and so many other countries. It is so sad. We have 100 million people out of the workforce in the United States. We've lost 1/3 of every manufacturing job since Bill Clinton signed NAFTA. We've got real issues, and we've got to turn this country around. And her failed policies have not worked, and the American people are suffering because of it. And that's why we're going to win this election, and that's why we're going to win Virginia.
Well, look, I don't have any doubt she hasn't had a press conference in something like 265 days. She's playing keep away, small ball. You can only hide for so long. We got 3 debates coming up. I'm very confident we're going to win this election without a doubt. I got to read you a text here I got from Scott Taylor. Scott is our Republican candidate for Congress in the 2nd District. That's in Hampton Roads. He'll be replacing Scott Ridgel. He beat Randy Forbes in a primary. Scott says, John, tell Eric we're going to be hushing turnout in Virginia in the 2nd District, and we're going to win the state. That's from Republican congressional candidate Scott Taylor in the 2nd District. So, look, we've got the enthusiasm. We're going to get the resources, no question. I want to get to immigration policy. There's been a lot of people saying, oh, your father is going to flip his position on deportation. I personally don't see it that way. I don't think there's anybody that has been tougher on illegal immigration than your father. Build the wall, get rid of the sanctuary cities, get rid of the illegals that are in the United States who have committed a crime. Obviously, you have to mix philosophy with practicality as you go forward. Can you elaborate now on what the campaign's position is on this?
Yeah, listen, I think you nailed it. My father is the biggest person in the world on having a strong border, and he will build a wall, and there's just no question about it. He will absolutely build a wall, and he will absolutely make Mexico pay for it. About it in my mind, he wants a secure border. He wants to enforce our immigration laws that are totally being ignored at this point. He wants to end sanctuary cities. We've become very friendly with families like, the Shaw family. Jamil Shaw was this amazing young man who was gunned down by a legal immigrant, and obviously about Kate Steinle.
Right.
I spoke about Kate Steinle in my speech at the convention, and a beautiful woman who was gunned down by an illegal immigrant. And we allow these sanctuary cities to exist, and it poses a real danger to this country. And beyond that, having a porous border, you don't know who's coming in.
Right.
It could be anybody. It could be terrorists. It could be anybody. You don't know who's coming in. It's letting in massive amounts of drugs. On that, we have massive amounts of people in this country who are out of a job. Median income hasn't gone up in 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because of supply. I mean, so many people are coming into this country, and Hillary wants to increase the amount of Syrian refugees coming into this country by 500. You simply can't do it. So not only are her policies and the government's policies thus far driving all jobs out of this country, and they're going to Mexico and they're going to China and so many other places in India. So we're losing it because of bad trade deals and currency manipulation. But we're letting people into this country unchecked who are also taking jobs. We're letting refugees into this country who, quite frankly, the head of the CIA and the head of the FBI and, quite frankly, ICE have all said that ICE our own people are suffering and wages haven't gone up, and we have, again, 60% unemployment in so many African American inner city communities among African American youth. And it is a travesty. We need to put America first. We need to put American people first. We need to put Americans first. And my father is a patriot, and he's got a heart of gold, and he is truly one of the kindest people in the world, despite what Hillary will say about him. But we have to get back to putting our nation first and above all others, and that's what my father will do.
Well, look, we've got $20 trillion in debt right now. The CBO just came out with an analysis yesterday that said by 2026, we're going to have $26 trillion in debt. This thing is unabated. There's no end in sight. Hillary wants to bring in another several 100,000 Syrian refugees at a minimum of $70,000 each. That's another $5.66 billion. No way to pay for that. Coupled with the fact that not a single state in the Gulf is taking any of them. Not Qatar, not Kuwait, not the Saudis, not the Arab Emirates, not Dubai. They're taking zero. Why do we have to take in 200,000-300,000? How does that make any sense?
No, and that's right. And listen, you see that little boy who was in the ambulance all over the news the other day from Syria. He has been, he was bloodied, and he's this beautiful little child. And your heart mourns when you see that. Your heart absolutely breaks. You have to show compassion. We're an amazing country, and we have to help people. But we can build an unbelievable safe zone in Syria. We can protect the people who can't protect themselves. We can take great care of them. We can make sure that they're healthy and that they have perfect medicine, and they're fed and they're warm and they're protected, and they don't need to live the atrocities that they've seen. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't have to be here in the U.S. where, again, ISIS has said that they're going to infiltrate that migration when it comes into this country. We can't allow people that we can't vet into our nation at the same time, as Americans and as some of the most philanthropic people in the world, we have to help others. So let's do safe zones, and let's let some of the Gulf states pay for those safe zones, and let's provide the protection and the food and education and everything else. But that should be done there and not here, and that's my father's simple statement.
Look, we're on the same page on that. We liberated Kuwait with our blood and our money. They ought to be involved in this. They're not. I think that's what's bothering a lot of people. We all have a big heart, but you also have to do things that make sense. Now, getting back to immigration, last night your father said there will be no amnesty, no citizenship. He said, let me go a step further. These are people that came into the country illegally that haven't committed a crime. They'll pay back taxes. They have to pay all the taxes. There is no amnesty. He said, let me say that again, there'll be no amnesty. But he says, we have to work with them. But look, the first thing you have to do, none of this matters, Eric, until you secure the southern border of the United States. Because right now, we don't know how many people are coming over there. We've got our patrol agents 10 miles up the road from the border. People are just filing in every day. We don't have any idea who they are, how many of them there are. If you don't have a border, you don't have a country. And so until you fix that, I'm not even interested in talking about the people that are here now, because even if you deported the criminals, like what happened to the guy in the sanctuary city with Kate in San Francisco, they just walk back over. What's the difference?
I was about to use that same example. The illegal immigrant who killed Kate Steinle had walked back over that border 5 different times. He got deported, walked back over, got deported, walked back over. You simply can't have that happen. You simply can't have that happen. And, it's really interesting. I am a product of immigration. My mom was born outside of the country, but she came to the United States illegally, and she embraced our culture, and she embraced our values, and she loves this country, and she is a great American, and she identifies herself as an American, and she learned the language, and she assimilates as an American, and that's what we want. There's no question as a nation we're a melting pot, but we just need to know who those people are. And my father's been using the word extreme vetting. We live in the most dangerous world we've probably ever lived in. You have priests in churches in France that are getting beheaded in their own church by ISIS. You have people jumping in trucks and running down streets, mowing down innocent, men, women, and children while they're trying to enjoy a beautiful night. And you see what happened in Orlando with somebody going in and shooting up a peaceful gay nightclub. Think about these atrocities, and I can go on and on, from Brussels to Paris to San Bernardino and everywhere in between. We have to keep our nation safe. It's the most important thing that a president can do. We need to provide jobs for this country, and those are the things that my father will be intently focused on. And quite frankly, there will be no person who will be better suited to deal with ISIS. My father will simply be relentless on them. He will be absolutely relentless. He will keep the United States of America, the greatest country in the world. He will keep this nation safe, and he'll do that by securing the border.
Well, look, you have to start there. If you don't do that, like I said, none of this other stuff is going to matter without a doubt. And I want to get to the Clinton Foundation. Look, it's one thing when Mrs. Clinton had the server for the emails and she said it was for convenience, and now we find out that some of it isn't. But now you got a situation where you've got, as the Associated Press brought up, which I think, Eric, is going to be the tip of the iceberg, you have clear examples of pay to play where basically Bill and Hillary Clinton turned the State Department into a money-making machine for their own purposes. Look, these people have made
$250 million.
$250 million, right? Give me the number. $250 million since she went to the State Department. They don't own a company. They don't build anything. They don't employ any people. They don't make anything outside of the Clinton Foundation. How do you make $250 million as a public servant? How does that happen?
Yeah, it's simple. It's called pay to play. They're peddling influence, and it's become very, very, very clear. You look at this crazy deal, and I simply, every time I hear about it, I shake my head. This crazy deal with Russia. The United States gave 20% of our uranium to Russia. Uranium is obviously what we use to make our nuclear weapons. We gave 20% of our uranium stockpile to Russia. The people who brokered the deal right after the deal happened gave $145 million to the Clinton Foundation. first of all, why are we giving uranium to Russia? Right? I mean, it's ludicrous. But why are we giving uranium to Russia, nuclear material to another power like that?
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, how do you get paid $145 million for doing so? I mean, the same thing happened with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia gave the foundation a total of $35 million. They got weapons deals immediately thereafter, meaning, the State Department needed to approve for them to get, various planes, fighter planes. Right after that money came into the State Department, they got all these planes. It is atrocious what's happening. I mean, it is the worst of the worst. Mm-hmm. And the list goes on and on and on. I mean, between 2007 and 2014, Hillary and Bill made $141 million, all while she was, a Secretary of State. It is inconceivable. I know people who own amazing, amazing businesses, who are the hardest workers you've ever seen, who make unbelievable products, who don't make 1/100th of that. Mm-hmm. And as you said, I mean, and I think you just said this so well, what are they selling? What's the commodity that's changing? They're not making light bulbs. They're not selling apartments. They're not selling land. They don't, own oil or natural gas. I mean, what are they selling? They're selling influence to people who have a lot of money and foreign governments who are willing to pay them for it. And it is horrible. It's the worst form of corruption in the world. And the fact that they're doing that through the guise of a quote-unquote charitable foundation is horrible. The fact that a foundation pays Bill to speak for his own foundation is horrible. I mean, I'm on the board of St. Jude. I do a lot of things with kids with terminal cancer. I have a foundation that raises a lot of money every single year. Mm-hmm. The notion of getting paid by your own foundation is disgusting. You do philanthropy because it's the right thing to do, and we're the most philanthropic nation in the world, and we believe in helping others. You don't do it so you can line your own pockets. And when you look at, what's happening in the Clinton Foundation, I mean, it is their personal slush fund, and it is truly, truly horrible.
Well, they made the money from peddling the influence, and the biggest part of the influence was derived by Hillary Clinton being Secretary of State. I think that's really what the issue is here, and I don't think this is going away. The other day we had I heard James Carville on one of the stations, and he talked about the good work the Clinton Foundation was doing. And he said, if you shut this down, he said, people will die. Well, I got the perfect answer for that. Let's keep Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton fundraising for their foundation, elect your father president. They can continue to fundraise, and then they can continue to do their good work. Meantime, your dad will be president. No one dies. How about that?
Yeah. And so many of their friends who are running the Clinton Foundation at ridiculous salaries will continue to get incredibly wealthy. I mean, I don't know. I would argue that their mission has gone past the point of philanthropy, and there is no one who's more philanthropic than me and our family. I mean, I truly believe in it. I believe it's everybody's duty to give back to society and people that are less fortunate, and we must do that as people. I mean, we just must do that, especially as Americans. And I don't know. This is it's gone too far with the foundation. I mean, it is truly sad what's happened there.
It is clearly pay to play. And Eric, I think we've only hit the tip of the iceberg on it. I've only got 30 seconds. Final question. The health of your father has come under question. I've met him many times. He's 70. He looks pretty healthy to me. But are you guys going to release your health records?
Well, first of all, let me say this. I'm 32, and I've never seen a man with more energy in my life. I mean, he does not stop. People often say, tell me about your father. I said, he's the Energizer Buddy. I mean, he just does not stop. My father does 2, 3, 4, different rallies a day in front of, anywhere between 10 and 20,000 people. I mean, he is amazing, and he doesn't stop. And I've just never seen anything like it. I mean, my father, I can tell you, there's no lack of energy. There's certainly no lack of health. I mean, the man, I don't think has taken a day off in a year. I mean, he thrives off of energy, and he's the hardest worker I know, and he just does not stop. And my father is truly, truly amazing. And it's kind of interesting if you see how many rallies Hillary does per month. She does about 2 a month versus my father, which will do 3, 4 sometimes a day. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just really it's very, very telling in terms of the difference in energy between the two individuals. But he's an amazing guy, and health is not a problem. He has, thank God. I mean, knock on wood. But he's just amazing, and he just does not stop, and he's the hardest worker I've ever met.
All right, we're out of time. I want to thank Eric Trump for being with us. Eric, it's always an honor to have you on. Keep up the good work. We look forward to getting resources in Virginia and turning the corner, and I think we can win the Commonwealth. Thanks for being with us, sir.
See you later, John.